It seems like every few weeks I see another post or blog of somebody absolutely bumming a Hori Hori. Metaphorically, obviously, because I don't think we need any more one man, one glass type content resurging on the internet. And people have frequently called it the most useful gardening tool.
That is absolute bollocks.
Which, to be honest, sounds like pretty exceptional hyperbole for a trowel come knife. So for years I've put off getting one because I've just thought it seems like absolute nonsense. There are no gardening jobs that I'm struggling with where I think, oh, I could really do with one of those fancy knives. I genuinely thought it was a case of the endowment effect. Now, get your mind out of the gutter. It has nothing to do with the size of the tool. The endowment effect is the phenomenon where once people own something, they value it at a price that is higher than people who don't own it are willing to pay to acquire it. Effectively, if you've overspent on a fancy weeding tool, which is 5 times more expensive than a trowel or weeding knife, it's easier mentally to say that it's the best tool that's ever been invented than it is to have a cold hard look at yourself and realise you just spent 40 quid on a trowelly thing with a fancy Japanese name. So given that I'd held off trying one for years, I really wanted to make a video where I slammed the thing. This is not an unbiased review. And if you came here for that, then you can go and sit on a Hori Hori. For legal purposes, please don't do that. It's quite terrible for legal purposes, and you won't be able to legally resolve any disputes with it. Seeing as I'm so keen to slam it, let's go through the downside. So on this one, this particular one from Niwaki, the handle is a bit basic. It's really flat, and where the tang goes into this rebate, the edges haven't been worn down yet. You could sand them, but for a tool that ends up costing 36 quid, including the delivery, I'd expect it to have a bit more care put into the handle. It could be rounder too, and better ergonomically for the hand. I mean, it is a weeding tool, so I'll probably never use it the whole day. All day weeding will probably hurt your knees and your back before it hurts your hand. Its best attribute by far is as a weeding tool. It just slips into the soil a lot better than just an ordinary trowel because it's about half the width. So you don't have to put so much effort pushing it down, which it's not that hard to push a trowel into the ground. But if you're doing it 100 times, you can feel the difference between something that plunges in easily, and you can push the one that plunges in easily a little bit deeper and get a bit further down into the root of the weeds to lever them up. Clearly I could use it to dig, but while it's sharp, you can probably still use it to cut. You can, but my fear is, if it's sharp now, it's not going to be that sharp when I start shoving it into the ground and rubbing it against grit. So its use as a knife, I'm not sure whether I could be bothered to keep sharpening this, considering the number of times I'm going to be wrecking it by shoving it into gritty earth. It does feel, I do like the feel of it. You could just get a cheaper weeding knife, but can a weeding knife do this? Not that clean. It's gone in quite a way. The upsides, I don't buy the multi-function argument. It's completely useless at pruning. And some people say you might use it for dividing perennials. Potentially you might, but most of the time I just use the spade that I've used to lift the perennials out of the ground, which I've got on me by virtue of the fact that I just used it to lift them out of the ground. So I just chop it with that. And I find that that's a bit easier because you can use both hands and a little bit more weight from your body to really get into it rather than just chopping down with a knife. But the thing with hand tools is it's quite difficult to describe exactly why you come to like them. It's like this muscle memory and connection that you have that's really difficult to put into words. Yeah, I do like that. I love that it's carbon steel. You can get stainless steel versions from other companies and that'll stay shiny and it won't rust, but it just doesn't wear in and character in the same way that a carbon steel tool does. I look forward to seeing this in a few years when you can see what the regular pattern of use of the tool was, the different parts that get worn and shiny and rubbed. That's if I don't just lose it in a border somewhere. And I like the weighting of it. It's quite a thick blade and it just feels right in your hand. So when you're stabbing it into the ground and levering it, it feels like quite a natural part of yourself that you're then using. And if you were, say, to compare it to just using an old kitchen knife, a kitchen knife is designed for chopping downwards, and if you lever it, because it's not as thick, it's not got this curved aspect to it. When you lever this, it's going to be pretty difficult to try and bend it. I can't physically bend it with my hand. I'm sure if you stuck it in a vise and really yanked on it, you could probably bend it, but presumably you're not using it for that, so you'll probably get away with avoiding that type of use. And I've only tried this one from Niwaki. I haven't tried any of the other options. I have no association with them. I'm not going to get paid. I won't even have any affiliate links to it, but I'll put a link in the description if you want to find it. Otherwise, just Google Niwaki Hori Hori and go and buy one if you think that my review was sufficient to make you buy it. The stuff from Niwaki always comes really well packaged. They always use really high quality materials and steel, particularly in the tools that they sell. I've never had any issue, and I always feel like it's a bit of a treat to yourself when you receive one of the packages from them. The other options that I considered were this Bonsai brand one, which is available from eBay via an Italian seller, but the cost of postage was quite a bit more, so I just didn't bother with that. But it did have a serrated edge, which I think would probably be quite useful if you're occasionally having to saw away a little root or something. And these bare bones ones, which the handle on them looks a little bit better, to be honest, but it does cost a bit more if you were to get a sheathed one. And this one that I got from Niwaki does come with a sheath, which will mean you're less likely to lose it, and it's a bit more portable. But I mean, how far are you really going to take it? You're only ever doing a bit of gardening with it. It's probably more just that you've then got an easy place to put it, so you don't end up losing it in a border or chucking it down somewhere and losing it. I often come outside, and when I'm doing gardening a few weeks later, I'll notice a trowel that I left somewhere and forgot about it, because you end up just sticking it into the ground and leaving it outside. So is it just a fancy weeding tool? I really wanted to say so, and older style trowels are a bit annoying in that they bend and they break, but these new ones made out of aluminium, which cost me about £6, they don't do that. Yeah, they're just as strong as the Hori Hori. So as like a soil scoop or the many other uses that you end up using a trowel for, it's going to be way better than a Hori Hori, because for scooping soil it's going to be hopeless. And it's pretty useless at most of the other functions that people say that it can do. There are way better options for planting bulbs, like using a bulb auger or just using a shovel or spade, where you just cut out a square, move the square to the side, put the bulbs in, and then chuck it back over the top. And I probably wouldn't really be using it for digging, other than very small transplanting holes. You could probably use it in place of a dibber occasionally, or for making some rills when you're planting carrot seeds or something like that. I mean, it's not usually that hard to figure out how to do those things anyway. But when my wife saw it, she reacted. She went, "Whoa, cool." That's not a very good impression of her. It looks like a fictional knife. It could be from His Dark Materials or Lord of the Rings, and you aren't going to get that reaction from a weeding knife or a trowel. So it would make a really great Christmas gift or a birthday gift for a gardener. You'd have to get a wriggle on this year, because it's the 22nd of December today. By the time I publish this video, it's not really going to give you much chance to order it, but you might not be seeing that person until after Christmas anyway, so yeah, might be worth a shot. If not, birthday it is. We would suggest you thought about them a bit and thought about the sort of tools that would intrigue them, because I'm sure that they would have seen it somewhere, being people waxing lyrical about the thing, and it comes nicely packaged, so it feels like a nicer gift than, say, the trowel that I got, which was a cheap one on Amazon. But because you've looked at what you thought might have actually intrigued them, I think it would come across as a better gift than, say, a mug with a crap joke on it about wetting your plants. Unless the joke was calling the person your favourite hoe, and like your favourite hoe, you wanted to rub their head on the soil to and fro. Thanks, Grandma. That was a weird Christmas. And it really is fun using it. Getting the creeping buttercups and the herb Bennett out was a lot more fun than just using a trowel, and it's a lot more accurate because you wouldn't think that an extra 2 inches of girth would make a significant difference, but it does when you're really trying to get in there. So maybe it isn't the most useful gardening tool, but I think I might become a Hori Hori bellend now. I hope you found that useful, and let me know, is this a tool that you have enjoyed using, or do you swear by them? I'm sure you'd have already let me know. You probably typed into the comments long ago because I was slating it. So we'll see whether you waited till the end to find this information out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again soon.